Is Zebec Network ready for a bull run? I very much think so. We're also going to be talking about the charts for Zebec Network ZBCN, as well as Hedera Hashgraph, which is HBAR, and Sonic the S coin, and see what's going on in these markets. What are their updated price targets, if any, and their current trading patterns, and what I do expect in the market with higher probability. Of course, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin first. That is still the most important factor in this market because it is still the driver. If Bitcoin dumps, that could still affect the altcoins, even though it is losing its dominance as it started its bull cycle when it broke 110K. But it is still the most important chart I pay attention to before I trade any altcoins. We're going to be talking about some major crypto news first before the charts, and then I'll show you guys what I'm seeing later in this video for those altcoins. Usually after the 10-minute mark, but I highly don't recommend that you guys skip through because um, the Bitcoin moves could really derail your plans if you don't pay attention. All right, let's go ahead and take a look into some news first before diving into the charts here. So this is by Dow Jones Newswires. Bitcoin price rises. XRP drops. Why the altcoin rally is under threat. Barons.com. I really don't think that the altcoin rally is under threat. I think when I read these headlines, I really put on my critical thinking hat and compare it with my already formed opinion. I showed you guys the total three charts, which is basically the altcoin charts excluding Ethereum, and showed you guys why I think more likely than not that altcoins are basically in its altcoin season. It just broke out of a cup and handle pattern on the daily time frame, which is very important, approaching its previous all-time highs, and I really don't think um, you know that there's going to be much barrier to breaking that if Bitcoin does not dump, right? So let's go ahead and go to the next piece here. It's going to be by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin breakdown. Bitcoin price analysis warns of sharp drop below 110K. Um, I mean, it could be in the cards, right? 111K. It could retest that breakout point at 110K. I think it's in the cards, but I mean, I think that's a very low probability of it happening because there's quite a bit of moving averages from the 12-hour up on those time frames that could be acting as support. The daily 21 SMA is very important. That's at about, I think, almost 116K. I expect that to be pretty strong support because it hasn't touched down on it since Bitcoin has actually broken above its all-time highs. But we'll see how that support does, okay? Just because it is just a support doesn't mean that it's going to be a bounce that takes it to a higher high. But it's, we're going to have to zoom into the chart and see what it could be telling us. All right, next piece here is going to be about News BTC. US is a Bitcoin whale. Arkham clarifies Bitcoin holdings after brief panic. Probably something to read into. If the U.S. government has been buying up a lot of the Bitcoin, I think that could, indicate that there's very little supply on the markets, and when demand comes in, that could very much drive up the price sharply. Okay. I'm not going to get too much into details of this piece of news here. I just really just going to focus on the charts where I can really comment since I have my own opinion. All right, next piece here is going to be by News BTC as well. Bitcoin consolidates below 120K as exchange activity reflects mixed market signals. I pointed out that there are some mixed market signals, including the monthly RSI, right, with bearish divergence. Something to be paying attention to as we are coming to a close soon for this monthly candle. And there is still bearish divergence on the daily time frame, right? Noticeably. So those are some mixed signals to be paying attention to. I also pointed out a possible pattern for Bitcoin that it needs to break out of, so it doesn't see more downside, which could really affect the altcoins. All right, next piece here is by Crypto Potato. Ethereum spot volume eclipses Bitcoins as altcoin season heats up. Now, this is definitely a more bullish tone for this analyst, right? There's going to be bears and bulls in this market. Um, you just really have to take, put on your own opinions and see what lines up with your own opinions. At least that's what I do when I read this piece of news here, right? So yeah, I think this person is more correct according to what I'm seeing on the charts. Ethereum has been on fire. I've been trying to catch a dip on Ethereum, but it just kept going lately. So let me see if I can catch a dip on Ethereum with some leverage. I exited out of my Ethereum position recently, but right now, let's see if I can re-enter. Right, if you guys are trading Ethereum and you guys are holding it, let me know your price targets for the end of the year. Put it down in the comment section below. Right now, I am long on Bitcoin and quite a bit of altcoins across the board. So my opinion on this market is still bullish at this time. I'll let you guys know when I change my opinion. Okay. But of course, these are just my opinions, and none of which is financial advice. You guys got to do your own research, okay? All right, next piece here is by Crypto Potato. Ethereum spot volumes. This is just the same news piece. My bad. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go to the news here. Okay, I mean the charts here. Bitcoin right now, daily time frame. Okay, very important because there is bearish divergence that's already playing out right now. Okay, bearish divergence usually means that there is going to be a pullback, and we are seeing some of that right now. I pointed out yesterday that it's very important for Bitcoin to break this upper trend line here, because if it doesn't, it could be forming a falling wedge pattern, right? That could probably be more seen on the 12-hour time frame. Um, I like to project my trend lines if they're not validated with at least some type of support. In this case, would be the 12-hour 50 SMA, the white line here. That would give me some confidence that it would not breach that trend line, at least on the first touch, right? So that is basically what I'm seeing. If Bitcoin doesn't break it here, then it could come down to 114, which is pretty in line with the daily 21 SMA as well. I mean, not 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 that close. The daily 21 SMA is going to be the first piece of support here, but that doesn't, that's not going to validate a falling wedge. So could it breach it a little bit? That is something that I'll be watching out for. Okay, even if it breaches a little bit and wicks below the daily 21 SMA, I mean, this could still be support, right? I expect that to be pretty strong support, but that is just my opinion. All right. Now let's take a look into the monthly time frame. Very important because we're coming up to a close here in the next week, and we have a Fed meeting on July 30th, and that is something I'm gonna be watching out for, because I've seen some pretty crazy volatility, especially for leverage positions. I gotta watch out for so I don't get liquidated, right? So I am not looking to over leverage myself before that meeting. I think we need more clarity that comes out of that meeting, especially after Jerome Powell speaks, okay, or during his speech. All right, let's go to Zebec Network. Okay, see what's going on in this market. Now, just an update here. I did have Zebec Network before on leverage, and I did cash out of a short term profit here. Okay, at about when it hit about just 43 cents, or 0.43 cents, right about there. So what am I looking at for Zebec Network here? Let's take a quick recap. Zebec Network broke out of this huge cup and handle pattern, which is a very common pattern as well. It's a bullish pattern that usually breaks to the upside. Price target for this pattern was about 0.39 cents. Zebec went all the way up to about 0.72 cents before dropping all the way back down to retest this breaking point at about 0.225 cents. Okay. Now it has the weekly 21 SMA below us, well below us, as support. It already touched down on it. That's currently at about 0.26 cents. Um, let's take a look into the daily time frame where this breakout here is still valid. Falling wedge pattern, another probably the most common pattern you guys could start charting because it's very powerful, simple, and effective. Price target out of this breakout here is still valid, which is about 0.577 cents price targets. Now, price targets are estimates only. It could be more, it could be less. Very much depends on what kind of market we're in. And of course, also depends on Bitcoin. Okay. Now, I do think that we're in a very bullish market, and I've seen quite a bit of these price targets get smashed. However, that's just previous experience. Okay, it doesn't 100% mean that this one's gonna get smashed as well. Now let's let's take a look into what could be happening with Zebec Network. It is trying to stay on top of the daily 50 SMA, which is currently at about 0.37 cents, right? Let's see what it does here. That is basically the I would still consider it as resistance because I didn't see a solid candle close above that moving average. The next key support on this time frame would be about that daily 21 SMA, about 0.33 cents. Now let's zoom in a little bit and see if I can get any more clarity on what Zebec Network could be doing. All right, 2 hour time frame. It could be forming a cup and handle pattern here with the resistance at about 0.42 cents. Okay, that's the resistance for a possible cup and handle pattern. It is not fully developed yet. I would see it as developed. If it comes back one more time to retest that 0.42 cents price target resistance, if it does form a cup and handle pattern, it usually breaks to the upside, okay? And that would give a price target of about just right underneath 0.5 cents there, okay? Price targets. All right, let's take a look into the next coin here, which is Soniccoin S USDT or SUSD. Very similar charts. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame and see what we're dealing with. Weekly time frame, okay, falling wedge pattern. It's probably more clear on the 3-day time frame. Falling wedge pattern. Price target out of this pattern, which already broke out, okay, just a couple of days ago. Price target would be about 93 cents price target. It is trying to get on top of some major moving averages here, okay? Very important to be paying attention to moving averages because if it's above the price action, it's going to be acting as resistance, and traders are looking at those moving averages, I myself included, looking at those moving averages to consider to take profits, okay? Now, which will cause pullbacks, right? And now it is trying to get on top of the daily 21 SMA at about 35 cents. Next resistance or moving average, that's key resistance. One of the key resistances on this time frame would be about 45 cents, the white line here. All right, so let's see what Soniccoin does. If you guys want to continue seeing more of Soniccoin, make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, letting me know you guys want to continue seeing more of Soniccoin. Let's go ahead and go to HBAR and see what's happening in this market. Okay, quite a few things has happened for HBAR since the last time I've talked about it, okay? And I'm going to point out some of those things right now. Weekly time frame, okay? Falling wedge pattern, like I said, probably the most common pattern. Very simple, very effective. Tells you that after an extensive downtrend, that the price action is likely to break to the upside. Now, price target for HBAR here is about 30, like right underneath 37 cents there. Okay. Um, broke out of this pattern here. Now that price target is still valid. This breakout still valid. Okay. I talked about this double bottom pattern. Okay. And the neckline of that pattern, which is the breakout point, was about 23 cents. Broke out of it. Okay. Right now it's retesting it. Okay. A lot of times you guys would see breakouts happen and then the price action would come back to retest that breakout point. Very important to see that breakout point, the price action hold that breakout point. Otherwise, it could drop back into the pattern, and that's not going to be good. That could happen as well. Okay, that's just some downside you have to take into consideration when you see these breakouts. Okay, it's not 100%. It's going to go towards its price target. There are going to be times when the breakout happens, it falls way short of the targets, and it comes back into the pattern, and that's not going to be good because that's kind of a fake out, right? Just gotta know what you're looking for. Okay, in this case, H bar is still looking good right now, and let's see what could be happening on a lower time frame here. I also pointed out a falling wedge pattern, a smaller falling wedge pattern here, which H bar broke to the upside and basically smashed this price target at about 20 cents. Okay, let's zoom in some more and see what we could be seeing with H bar here. This is going to be a very interesting pattern because on the hourly time frame, right, there was a falling wedge pattern. Okay, uh, the bears actually try to break down from this falling wedge pattern. Okay, probably more validated on a higher time frame here. Probably the 4 hour time frame. Yeah, probably the 4 hour time frame here. It's more validated where I see basically, um, you know, three very close touching candles that's still validated in my opinion. And what I'm seeing here on this 4 hour time frame is that the bears actually try to break down from this falling wedge pattern, but the bulls just bought this right back up into the pattern. That is a bear trap. If the bulls can actually stay within this pattern here, and I'm paying attention to the 4 hour time frame. Okay, that is a bear trap, and it usually squeezes the shorts, right? Which increases the buying pressure. Okay. Now, if that buying pressure enough to push this price higher, that's yet to be seen. Okay. Now, the falling wedge pattern here, if H bar is actually able to stay within this pattern here and not fall back down again, it's still a valid falling wedge, then the price target here would be about 32 cents if it breaks out by this point. Now, this basically wraps it up for this video about these altcoins. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of HBAR, Zebec Network, and Soniccoin. By dropping a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll let you guys know if you guys want to keep seeing this, and I'll bring you guys an update next time. Have a good one.